How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to review the game that just happened today for me, Chelsea versus Brighton, the first game in the Premier League for Chelsea. I was so excited before the game started, and I was very excited throughout. I got all my notes here and I'm ready to go over the game now. Quick thoughts. Interesting game, to say the least. It was a decent performance. Could have definitely been better. We definitely have a lot to improve on. So let's head straight into the lineups first. We have Brighton's lineup. Starting from the back, we have Ryan in goal, then Dunk, Webster, White as the defensive trio. In the midfield, you have March on the left, Alzate, Bissouma and Leilana in the midfield, Lamptey on the right, and then Malpai and Trossard leading the lines for them. Now, the Chelsea lineup, the screenshot I have here is, I believe, at the end of the game, how they shifted. But they start the game at a 4-3-3. In the back, we have Kepa in goal, Alonso, Zuma, Christensen, James in defense, Conte, Jorginho, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in midfield. And then up top, we have Mount on the left, Werner down the middle, and Havertz on the right. Now, heading into this game, my thought was that for the most part, Chelsea were going to be in control. It was going to be a fairly, sort of cruise control type game. However, it really wasn't. Brighton really brought it this game, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad they gave Chelsea a challenge on their first game and showed Lampard what we really need to work on. And I believe it's going to come down to time. It's going to come eventually. I don't think these are gonna be persistent issues, some of the things that happen in this game, but I think over time, as our fitness grows and we start training together and molding together, that the team will just get better and better and better. They have a really high ceiling right now. So heading into the first half, the start of the game, the first about 5-10 minutes were all Brighton. They were controlling the ball. They really didn't give us any opportunities. We really didn't touch their final third, or their defensive third, the final third. We really struggled to get the ball forward. We kept losing it. First 5-10 minutes were a little ugly for us, not for Brighton. They look good. For the most part, we struggled to get into the game to start, which is kind of more or less, I kind of saw that coming, a little rusty going into it. And again, the chemistry sort of thing. We have all these new signings. Granted, Werner and Havertz were the only new ones playing, but I figured it was going to take a second for us to just kind of get back into the game. However, Brighton, with those first 5-10 minutes, really set the tone for how they were going to approach this game. They were not just going to sit back and just let us do whatever we wanted. They were going to come after us, and they did. They really did, and they brought it to Chelsea, and they had a good game, but the first 5-10 minutes really set the tone for how they were going to approach this game. I believe we had fouled, I think it was Lamptey in like the 15th minute or so. There was a free kick on the right side, and they sent it in, and man, I still feel a little nervous about our set pieces. We did look a lot better defensively this whole game, but when it came to set pieces and crosses, I still am a little nervous. I feel like they still could use some work. For the most part, we dealt with them, but a lot of it came down to the last second / a messed up cross. So I really hope we keep working on that and don't just think like, oh, it's good because we didn't get scored on a free kick or anything. We still need to work on it, especially the corners too. I believe before the goal there was a corner where it just went sailing over, but nobody was on it. I believe there was a Brighton player, I think, hanging out on the back, and the ball just sailed over and went straight to him. I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been, was it Trossard? I think it might have been Trossard who was hiding in the back there. But I mean, eventually we started to grow into the game. We did. We looked, the most we can honestly get out of our offense were counters, and when we did counter, we looked good. The break was on. We were quick. We're super fast with Werner, especially up front. There were a couple of times, which I'll get to later on. I don't remember the exact times, but I know they happened in the second half, where if we had just sent Werner, he could have probably done more. But for the most part, he was a big part in us throwing some fast counters at them, lightning pace, just going at them. And that's what led to the penalty. So Jorginho gets the ball, puts it. Who gave it away? It was Alzate who gave it away. Jorginho intercepts. It was really poor giveaway from Alzate, like really bad, and it was just too easy. I don't know what he was. I believe there might have been a Brighton player in front of him, but it was just such a weak pass, and Jorginho didn't even really have to try. He picks up the pass or the interception, and then puts it through to Werner, who just turns on the burners. Werner turns on the burners. He just flashes, just takes off. The ball was ahead of him, and he still got to it. He gets a touch to it, and Ryan, Brighton's goalkeeper, takes him out. Penalty. It was a clear penalty. There was no debate. Of course, Ryan's gonna debate, but he took out Werner. And then Jorginho, cool as ever, puts away his, like, I don't even know how many straight penalties. He still hasn't missed a penalty for Chelsea, which is amazing. His little stutter run up is awesome. But Werner really showed his pace, and he also set the tone for how he was going to approach the game. He's a very fast player. I always get surprised when I watch him, and in watching the game, I just got reminded, like, wow, this guy is something special, and I really can't wait to see him get better, because I have a feeling he's only going to get better. Now, my next highlight here is a diving Kepa save from an Alzate shot. This is around the 34th minute. But before this, I believe Brighton had both their corners before this. Or no, they had one corner and a cross came in. So on that cross, I believe it was Malpai who tried headering it, but it hit his shoulder, and the ball pops up, and Kepa, who just jumps out and just jumps up and grabs it. Now, what I liked about that is he's showing a lot of confidence. You know, I feel like that's what Kepa's missing, is his confidence in himself and his abilities. But right there, he showed me, like, oh, he's trying to be more confident, and, you know, in between the sticks, like, he's trying to really put himself out there and be that dominating force in the goal. And then they had a corner, and even though it did sail over, he completely misjudged it and tried going up and punching it away, but he missed by about a foot. And that kind of showed me, like, okay, we still need to be a little cautious with him. He's still not quite there, but, you know, I like the good signs. And then that 34th minute save from the Alzate shot, it was honestly about the same as Brighton's only goal. It was from about the same position. He shoots it just outside the 18, far back to the right, shoots it to Kepa's left, and he makes a really good diving save. I'll give it to him. It was a very good diving save, which is kind of what makes Brighton's goal a little more surprising, and I'll get to that in a second, but it was a good save nonetheless. I feel like throughout this whole half, we're being a little too relaxed. I don't know, it's just not a whole ton of effort. The front three for sure were showing a lot of effort. They were very lively, particularly Mount and Werner. Havertz, I'll get to him in my review more. He had a quiet day, to say the least. But in particular, Werner and Mount, and then in defense, Reece James, who had himself a game. Christensen, Zuma, they were doing very well. Jorginho was doing quite well in the midfield. They looked very lively, but at other times, they would kind of switch off and be a little relaxed on the ball, and we'd give possession away too easily. That was a bit of a problem that kind of persisted throughout the game. Now, in the 45th minute, and you hate to see it, Adam Lallana for Brighton, he used to be a Liverpool man, gets injured. Connolly has to come on for him. You don't like to see that. He's one of those veterans that you respect, who, you know, he just kind of commands that respect. Very good player for Liverpool. Injuries have just plagued him, and unfortunately, in his first game for Brighton, what are the chances? What is his luck, right, that he gets injured? And very unfortunate. Hopefully, it's a small injury. I haven't checked up on it, and hopefully, he's able to get back on the field quick. But yeah, Connolly comes on at the end of the half, and just soon after that, we head into the second half. So we come out, and the game starts more or less the same as the first half, or the second half starts more or less the same as the first. Brighton just came out looking bright, looking fast, looking like they wanted to just take it to Chelsea, which they were, and they were rewarded. Around the 54th minute, Lamptey just lays it off for Trossard, and he rockets, rockets is a bit of a strong word. He shoots it towards the bottom left hand of our goal, about 20 odd yards out, towards the right side again. A very similar position to where Alzate was, which is why I was very surprised when Kepa didn't save it. I know the ball it bounced in front of his hand, but again, I believe it was Tim Howard who had pointed out in the post game like review they were having was it went under instead of like if it had gone past his hand, I'd understand, right? Because that's out of reach. You tried, you dived, but it went under his hand, and that kind of made it a little. And then when you watch it back, it almost like he dives in slow motion. He was very slow to get to the ground, so it's like, is that really kept a mistake? Was that a hard shot? Was it a combination of both? I'm gonna give him a little benefit. I'm gonna give him a little leeway on that one because that was a difficult shot. It swerved, it bounced. But I feel like he probably could have done something with that. That's what makes it a bit of a hard pill to swallow. But thankfully, approximately, according to the statistical people, 98 seconds later, James has an absolute rocket, a screamer into the top right hand of the corner from about center field. He's about 20-25 yards out and just shoots it top right corner like nothing. I was like, when he took the shot, I was like, no, like, what are you doing? And then he scores it, and I was like, oh, okay. Because wow, like it was an amazing shot he took, and a huge response for Chelsea. One of the biggest problems last season was responding after the other team either goes up or equalizes. That was a big problem for us last season, was responding to that. But I was really happy to see that we were able to just boom, score just like that. However, about 5-ish something minutes later, around the 61st minute, Dunk had a free header. I think it was Lamptey who put the cross in, who had a freaking game, by the way. Lamptey, I'll talk about him later too. Puts in a cross. Dunk, left center back for Brighton, misses the header. I honestly couldn't tell what he was trying to do. I mean, you can see he's trying to place it. I believe it was left, but honestly, if he had gotten a good header to it and put it on target, I don't think Kepa was getting it. The momentum would have been too much, I think. But he misses the header and he misses the equalizer, and it proved to be fatal a few minutes later. So around that time is when Brighton started to slow down. You could see the fatigue was starting to set in. That's when Chelsea really started to press Brighton a lot more. Brighton were getting some tired legs, and that's when they were starting to struggle a bit. But in the 66th minute, they were made to pay. Dunk was made to pay for missing that potential equalizer. Zuma catches the volley from James off the corner. It's deflected by Webster, and it goes to Ryan's left. Ryan, the goalkeeper for Brighton, his left, and there was no way he was recovering from that. That was just a bad deflection. The shot was already on target, so it still counted as Zuma's goal, and I went crazy. But it was a good volley from Zuma. I do think Ryan would have had it stayed on target, like where it was going, but the deflection was huge. A bit of luck in that one. And that's where I'm a little hesitant with their goals today. One was a penalty, one was a really good shot, and the other one was a bit of luck. So it was like, but we still have a lot to improve on, but I believe we'll definitely improve. Moving to the next highlight I have, from that point on, the game kind of became a midfield battle. There weren't a ton of opportunities from then on, particularly from about the 80th minute on. The last 10 plus minutes is when the game slowed down a lot. But in the 70th, 79th, they bring on, I'm going to butcher this, Jahan Baksh. Brighton brings him on. I probably butchering that. And Pascal Gross for White, center back, and Alzate, the center mid. They did add a bit to the team, and they added a bit of energy to the team. I feel like it was too little too late, though, because Chelsea had already kind of settled, had already kind of set up to just close out the game. About a minute later, Callum Hudson-Odoi comes on for Havertz, who again had a quiet day. It wasn't anything special. It was okay. Definitely see him improving. I really hope he does, for how much we paid for him and how much hype is around him, obviously. But I think he'll just take a second to settle in, and that's it. He's a very talented player, so I wouldn't be surprised, if we see him at top form very soon. And then, yeah, like I said, from the 80th minute on, I don't even think Callum even touched the ball. I think he might have touched it once or twice. Like, that's how little we were attacking. But our midfield, it became definitely a midfield battle in there, and we closed it out. Simple as that. It was fairly entertaining game. Brighton made it a lot more interesting than I thought it was gonna be. I've seen some people saying it was a. I've seen some articles rather saying it was a walk in the park for Chelsea, which not really. You know, a couple things go Brighton's way. Suddenly, you know, it's 2-2, potentially 3-2. Brighton. You know, that deflection doesn't happen. It's still 2-1. You know, things. You know, certain things have gone Brighton's way. It could have been a very different game. It could have been a very different game, and they definitely brought it to Chelsea and gave us a run for our money. Now, when it comes to individual performances, I'm not going to give them ratings because I feel like that'd be too hard for me. So I'm just going to tell you my thoughts on how each player performed. Kepa, I'll start with him. Again, it's tough with him. It's really tough. I want to give him a chance, but he proved again today why we need Mendy. Whether Mendy starts or he provides that competition, we need another keeper now, and it's very unfortunate. The place that we're in, especially with how much money we paid for Kepa, it sucks. But I feel like the price tag just got to him, and now his confidence is shot. The press, you know, is all over him. His fans are all over him, and it's tough. But we definitely need another keeper at this point. He struggled to keep a couple simple shots at bay, and we were made to pay for one of them. So we definitely need another keeper soon. That needs to happen. Now, the defense definitely performed very well. I think they were solid. There were times where obviously Brighton, because they were very creative. They were very creative. Their movement was very fluid. So yeah, the defense at times were like they broke through. But for the most part, we held our ground. Alonso, for me, is still a bit shaky defensively. When Lamptey really started running at Alonso, he struggled to keep up. Now, I'm going to give him a bit of leeway because Tariq Lamptey was on a good one today. He was on a real good one. I'll talk about him in a second, a little bit more. He was on a good one, so I'll give Alonso a little bit of leeway. That's a tough matchup for him. He's not very good when attackers just run at him. So I'll give him a little bit of leeway, but again, he's still a little shaky defensively for me. Zuma and Christensen looked very good in center back roles. They held it down. They were very solid. Not much got past them. They were composed, getting rid of those crosses that were coming in. And it's going to be very interesting who Lampard chooses to line up with Thiago Silva. I'm going to be very interested to see who's going to line up with Thiago Silva when he's ready. For me, Reece James, definitely, I'm going to say he's my man of the match. He looked very good defensively and going forward. In the first half, he struggled a bit to get his crosses in. They were getting blocked a lot. They were very poor, not really well worked. However, he definitely impressed me today. He had a goal, an amazing goal, and he had that assist to Zuma. It was a great corner. But overall, he had a good game. He locked down at his side for the most part. Occasionally, Sonny March got through purely because of his pace. There were times where he just completely outpaced James. But for the most part, he held his side and he did well getting forward. So I'm going to give him man of the match. I feel like he did really well. Moving to the midfield, Conte had a relatively quiet but efficient game, mostly defensively. Not much to be said there. He did well defensively. His job isn't really to get forward that much, so I'm not really going to judge him for that. He did have some good runs, but nonetheless. Moving to Jorginho, he had an efficient day as well. I wouldn't say quiet, but it was a efficient day. Getting back and forth. He had the ball through to Werner, who won that penalty. And then he had a little layoff to Reece James, which is his assist in the game, to which he scored. But, I mean, he did well. His passes were, for the most part, on. He occasionally gave the ball away, but for the most part, he was good. He did what he does best and distributed. For the most part, he had a good game. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, man. You know, at first, I honestly didn't even notice. But then Chelsea scored their penalty, and then I got a notification on Twitter, and I checked, and everybody in the comments was like, oh my God, like, bench Ruben, he's having an awful game, obviously, with much harsher words than that. But everybody was saying bench Ruben, get him off the pitch. And I was like, really? Like, really? He's having that bad? Like, I haven't really been seeing it. And then after I started paying attention, I was like, yeah, you know what? I just felt it was a case of not putting in enough effort. He just wasn't chasing down balls. He was being very lax. You want to talk about being lax, like I mentioned earlier. He was the definition of that. He was just not trying hard enough at all. And it showed. He really struggled this game, and he did not stand out for me at all. And on the flip side, when Barkley was brought on for him, not much of an improvement. Barkley did add a little more going forward than Ruben did, but for the most part, it was kind of the same. He put in a bit more effort. I'll give him that. It was a slight upgrade, but not much to be said about Barkley's appearance. Jorginho did get brought off for Aspi. He picked up a knock. I don't think it was very serious. I think they were just trying to waste time, to be perfectly honest. But Aspi gets brought on, and they switched up the formations a bit. I think... No, Reece got pushed up to midfield, and Aspi got pushed to right back. But yeah, Jorginho got brought on, Aspi got brought in. He didn't have to do much. Again, the game was already pretty much over. Havertz, as I mentioned, quiet day. A little disappointing, but he is a very talented player, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and really starts improving soon and starts, gelling with the rest of the team and starts really, being such a big part of their attack that he's always been, like for Bayer Leverkusen. He was brought off for Callum, who again, I think only touched the ball like once or twice, or at least that I saw. Now, Timo Werner was very electric. He is very exciting to watch, and I'm very excited to see the rest of the season with him. He is such a fast, electric player. He just brings that energy to the attack, that pace. He's just so exciting to watch. And the way he won that penalty, he hustled. And that's what I really liked about him, his hustle. Actually, I'll give that to Havertz too. His defensive hustle coming back from that winger position was very good. There was a play where he lost the ball around Brighton's own 18-yard box and tracked all the way back. He went end to end to our box and he tackled. I don't remember who it was that had the ball, but he tackled the Brighton player and took it right back. And we immediately countered off of that. So I'll give it to Havertz. He was very good. He was good at tracking back. Werner was just all over. I think a couple more passes go his way and he might have picked up his first goal for Chelsea. That was another issue with Ruben and Barkley. They both had opportunities to give the early pass to Werner. They held it, and then when they finally decided to pass it, it was lost. Like it was very frustrating. I feel like they just don't understand how to use Werner yet, and that's the issue. But I think that'll come with time, chemistry, all that stuff. Finally, Mason had a very good outing, in my opinion. He really put in a lot of effort. I saw him all over the pitch, all over the front three. He was everywhere, and he was really trying. You could see it. He was sprinting up and down, left and right. He was everywhere. And I really appreciate the effort that he put in, and I appreciate the effort that a lot of the players put in. The vibes seem to be there, where they're willing to go for it, just go for it. And then I feel like that wasn't really there last year. Now for a couple honorable mentions for Brighton. First of all, Tariq Lamptey. I didn't really understand why Chelsea let him go, and he was on a mission to try and prove that you made a mistake letting me go. He had a game. He balled out. He had a very good game for Brighton. He was their bright spot. He was their player. He was their star player for that game. Hands down. He ate Marcus Alonso alive. He was all over him. He had a really good game. He was exciting to watch. So I really wish Chelsea kind of kept him, but maybe it's the game time that helped him improve. And I'm glad to see that he's a star player for Brighton right now, and I really hope he does keep improving. Maybe he'll get a big move later on. So we'll see with him. And then the other one I had was Dunk. Whenever we came down the right side, he was there, and he was all over whoever came down the right side, and he held it down for the most part. He was probably their bright spot in defense. I think he did well. He was a rock back there, and it was a bit frustrating to get past. And again, he almost had that equalizer in the 60th or so minute. So I think he gets my honorable mention too, and Lamptey. And now, overall, I think it was a very decent game. I feel like that's how I describe it. And a rating, I'd probably give it a solid 7 out of 10. I feel like we could have done a lot better. I feel like we could have done a lot worse. There were times where we were being very lax, too lazy on the ball, and Brighton could have taken advantage of it. I do think that if we continue to go against very fast offenses, our defense is going to struggle quite a bit to keep up. And if we face an offense that's clinical, which I'll get to that in a second, we might struggle a lot. Now the question is, can we rebound if those clinical teams score on us? I feel like now we have more heart into it. I feel like now we have more clinical finishers as well. I think we'll be able to get back into it now. Leading this leading into our next game, we're gonna be playing Liverpool. It's gonna be a tough game. Let's be perfectly honest. It's gonna be a very tough game. I believe Thiago Silva will be fit by then. Kovacic will be back after being suspended. Chilwell's big maybe. Hopefully Pulisic is ready by that point. That's gonna be a tough game. Liverpool did struggle in their first game, but I think that's only temporary. They do have some defensive. They showed some defensive frailties. I think is the word. It's gonna. I have a feeling it's gonna be like a 3-3 game again, or like last season. Towards the end of last season, it was at 5-3 when we played. I have a feeling it's gonna be more or less the same. It's gonna be really tough. I do see Chelsea putting up a much better challenge, really taking it to Liverpool. I don't think it's gonna be an easy game either way. I never thought it would be, to be honest, but after watching this game, I think Chelsea will only get better. But the first step is if we can beat Liverpool, that'll be a huge win. I mean, a huge win that could prove to be massive at the end of the season. You know, where we're 2 points ahead of Liverpool because of that win. That's how big I could see this win being. I don't care if it's only two games in. It's only the second game of the season. I don't care. I could definitely see this being a huge game down the line. And I think Chelsea really will take it to Liverpool. I think it'll probably be Kepa. Big maybe on Kepa, actually. Maybe Caballero will start. I could see it being probably Zuma and Thiago Silva. Maybe Christensen, Thiago Silva. But probably Zuma. I think Zuma looked a lot more solid than Christensen did. Barely. But they both played very well. But I'll give the nod to Zuma. I see Reece James again on the right. I see Aspie on the left. Probably Kovacic, Havertz, Kante, and then up front Werner, Pulisic. Oh, Ziyech isn't back yet. Wait, maybe Havertz again on the right, and then Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante in midfield. I think eventually Lampard will throw Havertz back to center attacking mid, because I believe that's where he'll get his. That's where he'll flourish the most and he'll give us the most, because he's a very creative player and he needs to be in a creative space. And I don't know if he can do that in winger. We've yet to see. He is a versatile player. He's an all-around player. But I have a feeling that center attacking mid, center mid is where he belongs and where he's going to really benefit the team. But yeah, Liverpool, it's going to be tough. I'm going to say Chelsea win. Obviously, like 3-2. But I think it's going to be like that kind of score. That's going to be really fun to watch. Ooh, I'm excited. Before I do my outro, I have a couple of interesting facts about the game. So, the last 2 times Chelsea won a Monday night game, last 2 times, they won the title. The last 2 times Chelsea won a Monday night game, they won the title. Now, it's a bit of superstition, but you never know. The other interesting fact I have is that Brighton have actually never beat Chelsea in league play. This is only the 11th time they met. However, they've never beat Chelsea. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like I enjoyed the game, it was a very good game. Surprisingly good. I was kind of hoping for that they would challenge Chelsea and really bring it. And I'm glad that Brighton did. But if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, leave that bell on so you know when I upload. Go check out the socials. Twitter at Blue Hermit 1. I always forget. Instagram at Blue Hermit _. Please share the socials with all your family, friends, everybody. Let the people know Blue Hermit's where it's at. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.